Hayden Panettiere's death has taken an unexpectedly personal turn this week, after actress Ruby Rose shared what she says are private text messages from Panettiere describing painful conflict with her mother, Lesley Vogel, in the period before her death, reopening a family rift that had already been simmering in public for months. Rose, 40, posted the screenshots to Threads on Wednesday, in direct response to comments Vogel had made publicly about her daughter's passing. The screenshots show a contact saved as Hayden discussing her relationship with her mother and the emotional toll it had clearly taken on her. In one message, the person identified as Hayden wrote that she'd been sobbing over her mother's cruelty the day before, adding, "My God, I'm 36 and she can still cause this kind of pain," and questioning why her mother would handle the situation this way when she was her only surviving child. In an earlier exchange in the same thread, the person believed to be Rose reflected more broadly on difficult mother relationships, writing that some mothers simply don't act or behave like mothers, leaving their children wounded even as the idea of a mother remains powerful to them regardless. Another portion of the exchange reportedly touched on a shared idea between the two women, floating the possibility of doing a podcast or an Anthony Bourdain-style show together where they could talk openly about these kinds of issues. It's worth being clear that these messages are unverified beyond Rose's own sharing of them. Neither Panettiere's family nor representatives for her estate have confirmed their authenticity, and screenshots of private conversations, however compelling, aren't the same as confirmed public record. Rose's decision to share the messages came directly in response to comments Vogel made in an interview with NBC News. Speaking about her daughter's death, Vogel criticized Panettiere's on-and-off boyfriend, Brian Hickerson, saying he was someone the family had been trying to get her daughter away from for quite some time, and noting that he was with her at the time of her death. Vogel went further, saying she believed it becomes very difficult to be true to yourself under certain circumstances, and that she felt her daughter had sadly lost her way, adding that she wished things had gone differently. In a separate comment to Page 6, Vogel suggested that some of the current public attention was partly tied to promoting Panettiere's memoir, and described what she characterized as a personality pattern involving a need for control, entitlement, and a lack of empathy, comments widely interpreted as being directed at her own daughter. Those remarks drew swift, sharp criticism from public figures well beyond Rose. Gayle King addressed Vogel's comments on CBS Mornings, characterizing the tone of her reaction essentially as dismissive, summarizing the sentiment as something closer to "thanks, Mom, for nothing" than genuine grief. Actress Holly Robinson Peete also questioned publicly why Vogel's comments hadn't led with a more direct expression of love and loss for her daughter, rather than criticism aimed at the people around her in her final days. The backlash was swift enough that it appears to have prompted Rose's own decision to go public with the alleged messages, offering what she framed as a counterpoint, evidence, in her view, of what Hayden herself had actually been experiencing and feeling in the relationship, rather than the narrative Vogel had been presenting publicly. The estrangement between Panettiere and her mother wasn't new territory for either of them, and had been building for years before reaching this point. Vogel had managed her daughter's early career, guiding her through the child modeling and acting work that began before Panettiere was even a year old. Panettiere ended that professional relationship at 19, telling her mother directly, according to her own account on Jay Shetty's podcast this past May, that she simply wanted her to be her mom rather than her manager, recalling the exact words she used. "I don't want us to work together anymore. I just want you to be my mom." Panettiere said Vogel's response at the time was blunt, telling her daughter, "You owe me," a line that Panettiere clearly still carried with her decades later. That underlying tension resurfaced more visibly in 2025, when the two reportedly became further estranged. Vogel herself confirmed that she and her daughter weren't speaking in the lead-up to the release of Panettiere's memoir, This Is Me, a reckoning published earlier this year, in which Panettiere wrote candidly about their relationship among many other difficult chapters of her life, including addiction, postpartum depression, and the loss of custody of her own daughter, Kaya, for a period following her divorce from Vladimir Klitschko. Panettiere died Sunday, August 16 at 36, after being found unresponsive at an apartment complex in Greenville, South Carolina. Police have said their preliminary investigation found no signs of foul play or suspicious circumstances, but her official cause and manner of death remain pending, while authorities await results from additional testing following her autopsy. That lack of a confirmed cause has left something of a vacuum in the public conversation, one that's increasingly being filled by competing accounts from the people closest to her, her mother's public comments, her friends' leaked texts, each offering a different, partial window into her final weeks. Rose's decision to make private messages public has itself drawn real debate online, with reactions split between people who see it as necessary context, defending a friend who can no longer speak for herself against public criticism from her own mother, and others questioning whether sharing private texts during an active, unresolved grieving process is the right way to honor someone, regardless of intent. Neither position has fully dominated the conversation, and the ethics of the disclosure remain genuinely contested among fans and commentators following the story closely. What's not in dispute is the underlying picture that's emerged this week. A fractured, complicated relationship between mother and daughter that, according to those closest to Panettiere, remained unresolved right up until her death. It's a relationship that's now playing out publicly through dueling statements, television interviews, and leaked private messages, all unfolding in the days immediately following one of the more devastating losses Hollywood has faced this year. For a family already carrying the weight of Panettiere's earlier loss, her younger brother Jansen's sudden death in 2023, this new public rift adds another painful, complicating layer to a grief that was already far from simple, and one that shows no signs of resolving quietly or quickly.